I was supposed to start earlier, but I was having a conversation with my supervisor over the phone. Work-related stuff, work-related stuff. All right. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on your way in. And we're going to be speaking about the Kim from Fort Harriet video about Passport Bros going around. I want to say I was one of the first, if not the first, to sound the alarm on that. And we're going to be speaking about Mindy Kaling, and her family and what is up with them and white folks, particularly her and her brother. For those of you that remember the story of her brother imitating a black person and like being anti-affirmative action and having some very underhanded shisty stuff to say about black people, particularly ADOS. I guess when the first person gets in here, put a comment down. Yeah, so let's start with, because I covered it already. I guess we won't make this the main thing. I'll just say this about Kim from Fort Harriet going at the Passport Bros. I'm glad a lot of other people are doing reviews on her video, and seeing what I saw. Yeah, so Kim from Fort Harriet is not a dumb woman. She's not uneducated. She is, she in all intents and purposes, from what we can see online, she wouldn't be a bad ally if she was an ally. But unfortunately for Kim, whatever gripe she has going on in her personal life, whatever hangups, whatever rejection stuff, whatever mad that, like, I say this and so many people think it's like it's childish. It's not childish. Whatever gripe she has about not being the desired person when she was younger, or even maybe now, is much of the reason why I think we get the particular Kim Foster we have now. The Miss Foster that we have now, I would argue we have because of hangups and gripes from her youth. Right? And so the Passport Bro stuff, after you ripped into black men on your channel multiple times, the issue with and then tried to couch it, and I want to stress this part, try to couch it as you're the victim, other black women are the victim because these men are leaving, while spewing horrible rhetoric, while you turn a blind eye to the divestors and the swirlers. Well, you did do a review on black women in luxury, so thank you for that, right? This is an issue. And as I said to Miss Kim Foster and to the brother FD Signifier, there will be no positive movement from your end, or at least how you would perceive a positive movement from black men in general, particularly Black Manosphere, until we reconcile with the fact that we've allowed, and FD said this, so I will give the brother that, until we admit that we've allowed way too much black men ain't ish concepts and discourse to fester in the black community for way too long, and not just that, all of the fallout from that. That's what needs to be stressed. So I'm glad that other people are reviewing Kim Foster's speak about the Passport Bros, and the fact that she pretty much tried to, like I said, call white zaddy government on black. Would they be doing overseas, or would they go overseas for? Shout out to Real Talk with Yanni also with this. If y'all think them white boys are going to come out, them white guys are going to come after black men, you got another thing coming. Keep waiting. Don't hold your breath. They're gonna chop their leg off to get at black men. It's possible. They've done it before, but highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Right? So that needs to be said. White guys are the OG Passport Bros. Before black women. Before white women. White guys are the OG Passport Bros. And if you think they're gonna start getting on black men to screw, and it's possible that they do that not to get at black men, but to bring white men white working class men, well, not so much working class men, solidly middle to upper middle class and above white men back home. It's possible they pass laws for that, but not because of black men. Don't get it twisted. Those white politicians are not fretting about black men going overseas to either have sex with non-black women overseas or black women overseas, or to go to find a wife overseas. They're not fretting over that. They're not. Now, will they do something to bring middle class and upper middle class and rich white guys back home to end up with white women? Yeah, they might do something for that, but not because of who black men are having sex with and getting married to overseas. Y'all could cut it out. That's wishful thinking. That's wishful thinking. You could cut that out, right? So, I'm glad people are doing a review of that, and speaking about that. Different brothers are kind of covering it. So it you know, and we would also, and I think I can't really read it right now because I'm driving, but I think that's what AB's speaking to also. Shout out to the brother AB. Thanks for being in here. Um, yeah, black women, also have their passports too, and are, excuse me, and are also engaging in the same type of activity. I would like to direct you to how Stella got her groove back and Terry McMillan, right? All for me and none for thee, right? So yeah, um, yes, no, black women are also engaged in this also, um, particularly the bedroom fund tourism, right? So, and we know that, and that's much of what that whole Tom Joyner cruise thing was about. They over there getting it, and those are not foreign brothers. Clearly, those are American brothers that they're meeting on those boats, and doing what they doing with them, and then come back home and act like nothing ever happened. Obviously, particularly the single women, right? So it ain't even just passport bros. When they was on that Tom Joyner cruise, that's what they was on, right? Hunting for some eggplant. You know, black women may not know black men very well, but black men know black women way better than y'all think we do, right? So, you know, Kim, you know, as educated as she is, I don't think she thought this out very well, right? Going at the passport bros in the middle of this black gender war. I know we have people that say it doesn't exist anymore or it's ended. I understand why you're saying it. I'm saying what I'm saying for a particular reason. But this back and forth between black men and black women, Kim herself, I keep on throwing this in her face because I mean she said it. Kim herself speaks about how she's like, well, she didn't use these words, but pretty much disgusted by the concept of being with a blue collar man. Those are not her words. It wasn't that visceral. I'm saying it like that, right? And then she turns around and tries to say, have an issue with passport bro. And like she said, I don't have a problem with passport bros. Essentially, what she was saying is she doesn't have a problem with passport bros. It's the rhetoric, and I don't believe her. I don't know which one of y'all believe her, whether it's either black woman or black man that listens to me right now. I don't believe her. Maybe one of y'all believe her, but I don't. I think she has an issue with passport bros, even though she talks a whole lot of crap about black men under the guise of female empowerment. And she got that from her elders and from her mentors who would say they talk crap about black men under the guise of black women empowerment, right? And y'all give me a second. I am getting some breakfast. Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. Okay, let me hurry up and get this out. But yeah, Kim from For Harriet, shout out to her and her subscribers and whatever what's her thing? She's a voice for black women or something along those lines. And I guess, I mean, like I said in a previous video, she's gonna be okay. Kim Foster is going to be okay. Her subscribers, on the other hand, maybe not so much, right? Oh, sorry, wrong card. Um, yeah, her subscribers not so much, and that's a that's a major blind spot of hers and her subscribers, right? Although let me take that back. I've actually heard her kind of speak to that just a smidge, right? Like I said, Kim is connected. Kim has money. She's gonna be okay, even if she was to fall off of YouTube tomorrow. She will be okay. Her subscribers, on the other hand, you know, yeah. And it is sad to see that. This is why I bring up the extra black women. It is sad to see some of them going through um, what they're going through in their romantic or love life or sex life. Some of this is truly tragic. I'm not saying that to be funny or, any of that. But I think some of these social media commentators, such as Kim from For Harriet, all the way across to Chrissy and Real Talk with Yanni and Paris Milan, are preparing their subscribers for an even worse fate. That is my prediction. Not something I necessarily want to see happen, but I foresee happening for many oldest of Gen Z and millennials who grew up watching the Kim from For Harriets, who essentially just took misandry and anti-black misandry and intellectualized it for the internet, right? And there's a consequence to that, right? So let's say that for the Kim. Now let's move on a little bit to the more to the kind of main topic of this video, which is Miss Mindy. Thank you. All right, thank you. Miss Mindy Kaling. Okay. Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Okay. Mindy Kaling. Okay. Okay. More and more stuff is coming out about her, and more and more stuff is critiquing her, including even from women of color, who are saying like some of her obsession. And for those of you that don't know, Mindy Kaling is the Indian woman on she's on a bunch of different shows, and she wrote a bunch of different shows, and she produced a bunch of different shows. Darker skinned Indian woman, yeah, actress, producer, writer. Yes, anybody want to put down some of her bio in the description, in the comments, you are free to do so. Okay, so, and it's coming off a bit cringy. Her kind of obsession with white guys is coming off cringy, and even to other women of color. Let's say this. I think we have to have a real conversation about women of color's internal anti-people of color, right? That's black women, that's Latina women, that is South South Asian women, East Asian women, indigenous women, etc., Middle Eastern women that are not considered white. And when I said Latina women, I'm saying Latina women that are not considered white. We have to have an honest conversation about them, and also how that some of them use intersectionality, being women of color, supposedly not being attractive to the men of their own group, as a way to, it wouldn't be justified, because you can be with whoever you want. You don't have to justify who you're with or who you're attracted to. I guess maybe a better word would be legitimate. Justify is, it actually is the kind of the best word, but you don't have to justify who you're with and what you're attracted to. But these people are, you know, they have, I think the best way for me to say it out, because I'm getting a little flustered here. Okay, the best way for me to say it is, if not my first live, I did a video, and for some of my newer subscribers, you can check it out, called Dating Racism. And I covered online dating and the statistics on online dating and who's going after who. And what was found is that it wasn't men of color who put a premium on white skin. So, translation, men of color were not chasing after white women, right? They weren't preferential on white women, particularly not black men, right? From online dating statistics, we actually find that black men are the most open and egalitarian to dating. We prefer black women, but outside of that, right, we're the most egalitarian. Black men in general, even gay black men, don't prefer white gay men, right? So what was found, and what is found more and more, is that women of color, of course white women also, duh, are the ones who are preferential to white men. So as much as white men speak about not being preferred, all these white guys y'all see complaining on the internet about not being the choice, what is found, particularly on online dating sites, when they pull the numbers, when they pull the statistics, is they find that white men sit on top of the dating hierarchy, right? And so when the brother FD says on his video on the Black Manosphere, the segment on divestors, when he speaks about these women having a thing for white male patriarchy particularly, that's not just a divestor thing, and it's not just a black woman thing. Women of color have grown up, particularly in the West, have grown up watching, reading, being socialized in this white anti-black society. And there's no way you don't think that they have these concepts about men of their own race. I think, my speculation, they hide all that talk of men in my own race don't find me attractive, and white men treat me better. White men treat Mindy Kaling better than Indian men. Yeah, I know about colorism in the South Asian community. I get it. But y'all trying to tell me white men treat Mindy Kaling better than South Asian men would? Come on, bro. Mindy Kaling is a extra regular looking South Asian woman. I'm not insulting her looks. I'm not calling her ugly. I'm saying she is a extra regular looking South Asian woman, and she's trying to tell me white men hit on her and white men treated her better than South Asian men did? Really? First of all, I'm a black man born and raised in America. It's really hard for me to believe. I've worked with white men. I've been around white men. That's number one. Number two, that's the same thing black divestors and swirlers be trying to say. Really, particularly the ones raised in the burbs, which Mindy Kaling was raised in the burbs, went to Ivy's, Dartmouth, if not Ivy, second tier schools, she around white dudes her entire life. Are you just like a more famous Ostefko that's South Asian? Because that's what it's coming on like. Y'all grew up in these different environments. Y'all secretly drooled over the white guys that were ignoring y'all in high school, and then you got famous or you got connected, and now all you write about, all you show, all you produce is you and these white dudes in a romantic, a romantic situation. Now, the critique of her is that, right? Is that she just keeps on writing the same stories over and over again of her with the white guy. Right? Her with the white guy, and it's actually cringy. It's actually a thing now. Even other women of color are like, all right, And something I really want to get this out before I forget. One of the critiques of her in that new Scooby-Doo show is her critiquing Fred while also being attracted to Fred. And I want to say this. That's women of color. That's people of color in general. Let me don't only put that on women of color, but women of color in particular, but people of color, right? There's this weird psychosexual thing going on with a lot of people of color where they critique white supremacy while they secretly want to have sex with all of these white people and be validated by them, right? And like, it's like fighting. Let's be very clear. A lot of these people of color feel like they're going to find the Holy Land in between the legs of white people. A lot of these, like, that's weird to me, you know, opinion. But my channel didn't say I wouldn't have opinions. This is some weird stuff. This like weird, like I said, psychosexual. I hate white supremacy. I hate how it's made me feel about my looks. I hate how it hasn't validated my humanity, and such and so forth. Critique. But, pause. Only a white male and his penis can validate me and my humanity and my beauty, right? Like, I will never say I too battle with European beauty standards as a woman of color, and I like white men because they're the only ones that can truly make me feel like a woman in this white supremacist society. I mean, the divestors are probably the closest people to come to saying that as women of color, right? But the Asian women don't ever admit that. They just keep on insulting Asian men. I'm specifically speaking about East Asian women and saying, oh, I don't want to be with him because he looks like my brother or something along those lines, or chastise Asian men for trying to, we no longer live in colonization, and we're not, excuse me, I'm getting myself tongue tied. We are not going to let you colonize us with your concepts of whatever the hell, right? And it's just weird. It is just weird, right? And I think we're going to have a real conversation as people of color, particularly in the black community. We have to have that conversation amongst ourselves of how women have internalized white supremacy and its beauty standards, and what that then means for the rest of the black community, including black men. So I'm saying, to flip the conversation on its head that y'all been trying to do all this time with black men talk black and sleep white. Yeah, that sound nice. My question is, what about all the black women and other women of color, for if we're talking about people of color, who talk about representation, talk about colorism, talk about being marginalized, talk about intersectionality, but secretly what you're really doing is just trying to get closer and closer to white men's power and white men's penis, right? Yeah, I said that earlier. KW Don, thank you for the super chat. And KW Don says, Mindy Kaling's brother fakes being black to get into medical school. Yeah, and apparently he failed out too. He failed out after that. Right? So, you know, it's interesting. And I shout out to Fab Socialism, who said it. Like, it's weird that all of these radical black women are with white men. And she essentially said, we're going to have to revisit that. And I haven't checked out her channel as much, and her streams, you know, her videos be super long. So she might have addressed it at a later date. But yeah, so that's a black woman who also sees this, which is like women of color talking all this radical talk, and like they were white men. Like, you're with the power structure. But you talking all this, you know, diversity talk, and you talking like, so it only really counts when it's a white dude, right? And it's just interesting to me, right? And this is not any jealousy or any shade, because y'all know I pretty much only want to be with a black woman. Um, but it is something to speak about, where all of these women are essentially using intersectionality to walk into the back door and just have sex with and be validated by white men, right? Particularly women of color that grew up in the burbs, right? Thank you, Indigo Flow. Indigo says, they often say they want to feel seen. Seen by whom? Exactly. Exactly. The same white guys, whether it's the jock or the nerd, who ignored them in high school. So they get educated, they start moving in certain circles, and that's who they can, that's the only people they can actually see. That's the only people that can really validate them in their femininity. And y'all give it up to the divestors. At least the divestors say it. We live in an anti-black society. We live in a white supremacist society. And my femininity as a black woman can only be validated by a white man. And that's what Miss Jennifer Lundquist and Chantel Buggs was speaking to, particularly Miss Chantel Buggs, who said there's something up with these women wanting white men with beards. Beards symbolize authority. It symbolizes a certain type of manhood, a certain type of masculinity, a certain type of power. And all of these women, they wanted white men with beards. So there is a conversation to be had about women of color and how they see white power, white penis. Let's call a thing. And is this all women of color? No. Most, ooh, that's debatable. A sizable portion, a critical mass? Absolutely. Toya says, Mr. Z so good to us. Why you say that, Toya? Why you say that? I need explanation and details, ma'am. Right? So, and excuse me. And good morning, Toya. Thank you for being here. I see the other sis, Kareen, is in here. What's going on, Kareen? Right? Thank you, Indigo Flow. Exactly. Are you referring to dun 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 white male gaze? Yes, Indigo. Exactly. Exactly. And it's interesting when women of color say they felt unseen by men of their own group, or men of their own group weren't checking for them. They don't end up with other other men of color. Don't y'all see that? All through Western society, and yes, Western society is predominantly white. All of these women who say, I was deemed unattractive by the men that of my community, more often than not, they're not with other men of color. They're with white men. Oh, thank you, Toya. And Toya says, Mr. Z, your dedication and content is appreciated. And thank you. Right? Truly, no, I really, truly mean that. Thank you. I try. Right? I try. Shout out to the brother of the Roger Report. He told me to take it like another job, a third job. Right? So, shout out to the sister Kareen. The sister Kareen says, these feminist radical people need to learn emotional intelligence, unpack their issues, and be accountable and move on. Tired of their foolishness. Sis, that's pretty much all. That's what we got. That's what we got. We got angry people of color who's mad at their people, so they go chase after some white person. Right? You got people who feel like they were unseen, or their beauty wasn't validated, and now they chase after white people. Right? You got them ended up with white people out of spite. You got them ended up trying to date particularly women of color trying to date white dudes because they think they're dumb and not. You know what it is? There's a certain higher beauty, and it's somewhat understandable actually. There's a certain beauty hierarchy in my community that I don't necessarily fit in. So I want to escape that, but I want to go all the way up to the white man. The white man is the only one that can validate me. It's a little different from men of color when it comes to that. For the men of color that feel that way, it's a little different. But for some of them, it's the same where they have to be validated by a white woman. Their masculinity it has to be a white woman. So there are men of color that think like that too and that feel that way. But particularly women of color, yeah, that say that I wasn't seen as beautiful in my community. Oh yeah, those women oftentimes it got to be white men, right? And that's we have to because it's not just okay you it's not in a vacuum. There's a reason excuse me. There's a reason I'm saying the things I'm saying. This thing doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It only affect that person and whoever they end up with, right? This also affects how you think and how you advocate and how you feel and how you speak about people in your same community, particularly the men in your same community, right? Translation, said harshly, your white worship doesn't just affect you. Your inferiority complex doesn't just affect you. Your anger at the men of your own group doesn't just affect you. Your resentment at the men of your own group doesn't just affect you. And the fact that many of you are ending up with white dudes, sometimes white dudes with power and influence, and y'all do a lot of whispering in their ears. You're doing something else with your mouth. But that means something. And it does affect the group because while y'all trying to get the white guys to get at the non-white dudes that you feel ignored you, they oftentimes are with the same type of women from your group. So even if you don't care about those men, so we're black, let's focus on the black community. If you're a black woman who ends up with an influential, powerful black man, influential, powerful white man, and now you're whispering in his ear, right? Pillow talking. And he does things against your group for you. He advocates against your group for you. Oftentimes, those men, more often than not, those men of your group are with women from your group. You just mad you weren't the one that was chose. So are you really for the women? You say you are. Right? But are you really, or are you just another angry, resentful, bitter person? Right? Black Socrates says, watch Dear White People. It is a fine example. So I watched the movie. I watched the first 2 seasons. When I saw a couple of reviews for the third season, I could not. They said certain activities and things. I said things and, yeah, pun intended. Ugh. Certain things were shown way too much. Certain activities got way overblown and were way too emphasized on the third season. And I just was like, yeah, I had to yeah, pause on this. I had to stomach way too much of that on the second season, the first season too, but way too much of certain activities and certain things being shown on the second season. I could not do it. I was not going to watch a third season where they ratcheted it up even more. Right? So I watched a movie when I saw, okay, this is going to represent, and it's just, I think we're doing way too much pandering. Like, this is where the white guys come in, right? This is what the white conservatives are talking about. Y'all got me aligning with the white racist conservatives, with the virtue signaling talk. I hate that y'all putting me in this position. Like, I'm so y'all know Mr. Z is 36. I haven't been on a college campus in a very long time. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe some of the brothers that are in here that are in your early 20s, y'all could tell me if I'm wrong. Is it really that much LGBTQ stuff going on the college campuses? Or are they just way overrepresenting this type of stuff in movies and in TV shows? Because I know it's happening, clearly. But is it that much LGBTQ activity going on these college campuses? And is it that much, like, you know, feminist talk going on these college campuses? Or is it that they're just way overblowing it in movies and TV shows because much of Hollywood is engaged in some of that activity and lives that life? So they're over representing what's going on those campuses. And Black Socrates says yes. So are you saying yes to the overrepresentation in movies and TV shows? Or are you saying yes, that's what's going on these college campuses, right? And Black Socrates, if you don't mind, could I have your age also? Right? Kareem, you feel me? Bro, most of us are extra average. Mr. Z is an extra average looking bald dude with a beard in South Florida. Right? I'm not ugly. I'm not particularly super handsome. Shout out to my lady, right? For dealing with me and my extra average looks, which I make up for in how I love her and personality and the eggplant, you know. But Mr. Z is extra average, and that's okay. And most of us are extra average looking, and we love extra average looking other people. We find them attractive, but in the grand scheme of things, they just extra. Most of us fit in that 5, 6, 7. Shit, let's be honest, 4, 5, 6 range. Most of us fit there, and that's okay, right? And I'm saying that to the sister Kareen's comment, she said that's just not reality. Everyone is not pretty. Even if white supremacy never existed, you will still be ugly or extra average. And most of us are just extra average, and that's okay. And that's okay, right? People are gonna still love you too. People are still gonna chase after you too. People are still gonna want to have sex with you too, right? And that's okay, man. So when people kind of, I was invalidated by every dude you pass by, and most of the times we still looking, right? And Black Socrates said he's 38. Okay, brother. It's just I like I said, I really think these people are getting way too much. Like, me and a coworker have a debate on how much of our society is LGBTQ often. And he goes all the way to like 50%. I'm like, it's not 50%, bro. It's not the movies and the TV shows got you all the way messed up. You think it's 50%. It was like, all right. It's at least a third. And I'm like, no, bro, no, it's not. A third, and he said particularly men. I'm like, you think a third of men are LGBTQ and most of them are on the DL? Because when the conversation continued, he's like, he thinks a third of men are LGBTQ, and the reason why we don't know is because so many of them are on the DL. And I'm like, do you hear yourself? And that is that lets you know how strong media portrayal is. That lets you know how strong media portrayal is. And for any LGBTQ brother or sister listening in, I'm not doing it, saying anything homophobic. I'm not trying to go. I'm not trying to insult you guys or anything. I'm saying television got a bunch of people all the way messed up, from straight to LGBTQ, thinking that the population of LGBTQ is that large, right? It's just, yeah, But back to the Mindy Kaling thing, a bunch of people are reviewing it, reviewing her, talking about her, talking about the new Scooby Doo show, talking about her writing and she's just always constantly drooling over the white dude, ending up with the white dude, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, of course, right? And it's good that we're finally, finally critiquing women of color and their habits and some of the things they've internalized and how they feel and think about some of these things. Because for the longest, you were a sexist, misogynistic, hateful monster, a pig. If you just did say, yeah, 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 everything's above board, ain't I don't see no issue here. She don't got no inferiority complex. Nope. She hasn't internalized white supremacist notions of beauty and nope. Right? And thank you for the super chat. Victor Creed says, how many women admit they have tried another woman? Ooh. That is probably the most open kept secret, particularly in the black community. Let's expand what you just said out, Vic. Not just only that they've entertained same-sex relationships or same-sex situationships or same-sex sex, just same-sex sex, right? But also, how many young men, oh, y'all know where I'm going. How many young men were turned out by a way older woman? How many women, ooh, let's go even further. How many girls and women were turned out by a way older girl or woman? Right? A 13-year-old being turned out by a 17-year-old, a 18-year-old, or a 18-year-old being turned out by a 27, 28, 30-year-old. How many women, their first experience with another woman was a way older woman? Right? If we're going to admit that, and this is not me making fun of the LGBT community or anything, but if we're going to have an honest conversation about sexual activity in the black community, both heterosexual and LGBTQ, right? There's a lot of black women trying to escape black men and this supposed patriarchy by ending up with unassuming other girls and women, right? And they get off on engaging in whatever activity with these people, right? Thank you for the honesty, Trail. Right? But let me read it. I'm gonna read. Kareen just on fire today. Kareen says Mindy is not even pretty in the Indian community. She is unattractive, and I think that's the. I I don't know how Indian the South Asians I've tend to find attractive are the ones with her skin tone, are the ones the darker skin. I'm not so much into the lighters tend to usually be Brahmin Indians, really, because they're like the undertone of their skin tone kind of, it's like a turnoff to me. Like it's like almost white, but then there's like an undertone oftentimes of gray, and like that's their real skin tone, but it almost look like they're the African sisters that be bleaching, right? And maybe it's just me, right? But that's their real skin color. It's not that they're bleaching, even though we do know that South Asians bleach, but their real skin tone and like the undertone of their skin, of the like the lighter skin tone, they look almost gray to me oftentimes, some of the lighter Indians. So the South Asians that when I find them attractive, that I tend to find attractive, are like brown paper bag and darker, right? So, there's that. But I mean, maybe that, and that's what I'm saying, Kareen, is I think that's why you seek validation from the white guys, right? It's because you weren't, you're just extra average in your community at best. Or, and it's not, you grew up in white society, yes. You hung around mainly white people, yes. Um, and in your community, you were seen as extra average to maybe even unattractive. And the only way you can get over that is not by ending up with a black guy or a Latino guy or an indigenous guy, if you could find one, or a Middle Eastern guy or East Asian guy, right? The only way you feel truly validated is by the affirmation of a white guy. You can only be validated by a white guy, right? And the comment I wanted to read from Trail is, I was 22 when a 34-year-old challenged me to go down. Yes, I was turned out by a older woman. And thank you for your honesty, Trail. And you see, and we have to, you know, that's a conversation a lot of black people are squeamish about, particularly black women, particularly black feminists and black empowerment people, women, people, and whatever. That, yeah. And that's why I wanted to read Kareen's comment after that, which is predatory behavior comes in all genders. But for some reason, it's empowering when women do it, particularly heterosexual cisgender women. When heterosexual cisgender women are 40 dealing with a 25-year-old, it's empowering. We say it's empowering. The men do it. Why can't we do it? Right? It's empowering. A female Leonardo DiCaprio would be seen as empowering or seen as empowerment, right? That would be seen as empowering. You 50 something and you flipping 27-year-old dudes out left and right. Every time we see you, you with a 24, 25, 26-year-old, 27. By the time they turn 28 or about to turn 28, you flip them for a new one, right? We might be reaching the end or the cap of certain feminist, um do I want to say predations? No. um I want to say market cap. We might be reaching the market cap of like certain feminist concepts, or not being able to critique some of the things that women see as empowering. That's the best way to say it. We might be reaching the market cap of like, hush hush, you can't say that, you can't critique that, you're a sexist monster if you say this, imply this, suggest this, about women in general, feminists in particular, or people that claim that they're for the betterment or an empowerment of women. I think we might be reaching the market cap of telling people they can't critique women or, um, actually take a microscope and see what's going on there, right? Kareen, I somewhat agree with that too. Her face is not attractive. Yeah, I mean, she's. I don't like. Once again, she looked extra average to me. I don't know. She nothing particularly ugly about her, but I I I wouldn't take a second glance at her if I was walking through the mall passing her. You know, she's just, to me, she's just a You know, just a normal South Asian woman, nothing to see here, right? And I don't mean that as any type of mean or, you know, just okay. And that, you know, that's there's nothing wrong with that, right? But you know, in our society, we at least for the past few decades, we've allowed these people to get into positions of influence, not so much power, but of influence, and then tell you the reason why they are the way they are is because the men in their community weren't checking for them, and the white guys were. Trill, that's hysterical. Looks a lot like McCain's daughter. I envisioned it. Right, right. And that's what I always find absolutely fascinating. Women of color, particularly darker women of color, saying men of color weren't checking for me. They I was made to feel unattractive in my community, but it was the white guys that hit on me. Really? So you left the South Asian community and automatically your stock in white society just went up like tenfold, right? Them white guys was falling out of planes, right? Running across expressways, swimming over the sea, like just to end up with Mindy Kaling. And what? I always find that astonishing when people of color say that. That's not just a woman of color thing. I'm seen as unattractive in my community, but once I opened up my options to white people, my stock went up 20,000%. Really? I hear people of color say that so much, particularly to women, but I've heard men say it, right? Black men get a little bit of pass because your black skin is seen as edgy, almost almost out the gate. You could be a nerd, brother, and if you, particularly the brothers with the dry humor and the monotone voice, the nerd women go goo goo gaga over those type of brothers. The nerd white women and whatever, but all the other brothers, y'all trying to tell me sisters weren't checking for you, and all of a sudden you went to white society and the white women was chasing after you? Come, stop it, bro. You extra average looking, bro. You ain't particularly tall. You're not particularly muscular. And you're not funny. You're just a normal dude. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. But when men of color say that, I look at them sideways. When women of color say it, I really be like, okay, you're lying, right? So the white guys said, "Oh no, I ain't into the white or lighter skinned Asian women. Oh no, I'm not into my own white women. But Mindy Kaling, yeah, that's the one." Really? That's what happened, right? They were chasing after Mindy Kaling. Really, Mindy? Especially, first of all, your parents. Whoa. So your son is over here impersonating black men and talking crap about affirmative action that was written for black people. And your daughter got a white man worship complex. What type of household y'all had going on? What type of household did y'all have going on? Right? Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. And I think That's much of the complex you get from a lot of these particular people. Look at, once again, look at Ostefko. A particular humor, that's cool. Still a black woman, but insecure, somewhat of an inferiority complex. Blame some of that on black men, but clearly, situations you've been with white men haven't necessarily worked either, right? Oh, and Detroit says, "Who's Mindy? Mindy Kaling, the Indian woman. She's the, I guess she's the writer right now for the new Scooby Doo show. Um, and she's produced and written and acted, and yeah, South Asian woman, right? And like, she's a big name. She's a big name in Hollywood. And we're using her as an avatar to have a larger conversation about women of color and their white penis worship. For those of them that have that complex, not all of them do. It's debatable if most of them do, but it is a crucial mass, I would estimate. Yeah, that one. And Detroit says, Mindy from Ugly Betty. Yeah, I think it's that one. That same one. Right. So yeah, so you know, I don't want to necessarily beat up on her. Like I said, I just wanted to use her and her thing for white dudes thing um as a larger conversation to speak about critiquing women of color and why they're into what they're into, and then how it affects all the rest of us, right? If we can have a conversation, and I don't think any of these things are beyond reproach, by the way. I never believe that your love life is beyond reproach. I can't critique what you like, what you find attractive, and why you find attractive. I've never been that person that thinks that, oh no, this is what I just like, and you have no right to tell me what to like. You're right. I don't have a right to tell you what to like. I do have a right to critique it and look over it and flip it upside down and try to figure out why you like what you like and who you like. That I do have the right to do. Right? And what's going on, Dr. Dunbar? Dr. Dunbar says they cancel Scooby. He's not even in there. So, according to what I know, this is somewhat of a prequel, right? So it's not meant to be like, the main storyline that we know, or like it's before the storyline that we know, is what I should have said. Actually, it's before the storyline that we know. So eventually Shaggy's gonna become a pothead, right? The pothead that we know, and eventually Scooby's gonna, make his grand appearance or whatever. But this is a prequel from what I'm hearing, right? But like I said, I really wanted to have a larger conversation about women of color and how they're in whoever which whatever women of color have an inferiority complex or have an issue with the men of their own group, how that then affects the group when oftentimes these women of color end up with these white guys or are intimate with these white guys, you know. Yeah, you know. And the earlier in the video I was speaking about, and I want to revisit that again. Kim from Fort Harriet and her Passport Bros commentary is making its rounds, and other people are critiquing it now, um, or going over it, reviewing it. I don't know. I got stuck on the word critique. Reviewing it now, and yeah, and that's good. So other people can see and hear what I saw and heard, and even if y'all take a different interpretation of it, yeah, you know. And like Kim said, these are not the men we wanted anyway. Yeah, Miss Kim Foster. But I don't know if you're doing the social math. As I said, it's gonna look real ugly real soon for some sisters. Y'all can't afford to keep on shedding black men like this. First of all, y'all don't have enough money, you know, and that's gonna be interesting. I wonder. I guess next time I speak to Nameless, I'm gonna have to ask him how much of his hive model factored in the money aspect and the fact that black women still just don't earn as much money as black men. So like, who's bolstering up these relationships oftentimes, right? Like, if so many black men are we in prison, so many black men are LGBTQ, so many black men don't earn enough. Like that $20,000 that we were saying earlier that BGS bought to us, right? So many black men are passport bros. Then you already have like the 2 million population gap where black women, outnumber black men by 2 million, or black, females outnumber black males by 2 million. What are we gonna do with the, you know, 3.5, 4 million when you and then you count how the black men that are married out more than the black women? I mean that's yeah. Let's say 5 million gap, right? Do these black women earn enough to kind of make up for that? And that's true, Thermocat. Thermocat says the hive model isn't intended to give all the women the same returns. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess I guess yeah, that's going to be interesting to see the wealth disparity in that, to see who gets the whole loaf and who gets half a damn crumb, right? That's going to be interesting. Oh God, one of my neighbors is about to start his loud ass Camaro. That's going to be interesting. You know. Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, it's yeah. This is not, I said it before, I've said it a million times. I don't see how this is sustainable. To me, it's not sustainable, and there it goes. Rumble, 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 rumble. LSV8s, right? I could definitely tell he like drifts his Camaro, because the whole front end is off. No bumper, different headlights, right? At one point, he was driving with no hood also, and he only has the driver's side wiper, right? It's funny, right? Y'all can hear that rumble, 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 and there we go. So, um, back to what I was saying. Like I said, I think it's important that we critique these things, not just to critique them, but to speak about how they then affect people of color, men of color, and women of color, right? And it's gonna be interesting watching, this Mindy Kaling thing kind of unravel, um, however long it takes, you know. Like I said, even other women of color, even South Asian women are like, okay, this is getting weird. This is getting weird, right? And I don't know how much of that is that you're exposing way too much of how we think and feel, and how much of that is like, no, you're really weird with this thing now, right? And then going to the Kim from For Harriet thing, you know, Her talk of passport bros is interesting. Like I don't really know what we thought was gonna happen. Like Kim even said it, like these are the men we don't want anyway. What did what? What did we think was going to happen? Decades of like you ain't ish centuries, decades of you ain't ish language, you know, and even the brother FD signifier pretty much like he knew. So you know, yeah, y'all go ahead and critique that video she did on Passport Bros and focus on her talk of you know, pretty much trying to call white zaddy government to come investigate, right? You know, and I see that somebody probably been listening because Real Talk with Yanni is now reviewing a bunch of Manosphere content. Right, this is the last part of my commentary. This one is not gonna last too long. She's been reviewing a lot of Manosphere content, so y'all be careful because them eyes are snooping. Right, she reviewed the Destiny and Angry Man conversation. Right, then she's now reviewing some of the talk of the brothers later on in the conversation. You know, so yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I've seen the thumbnail, and I could only imagine her angle. Oh, I can only imagine. But yeah, continue to produce the content to tell your subscribers. And this is why we divest. And this is why I'm not against divesting. And this is why I said they don't protect us. And this is why I say leave them alone. And this is why. All right. Hey, I I said what I said about I made the video I made about the Xers using Tracy Ellis Ross as a avatar, but the Xers, the black Xer single women, I didn't say that for no reason. I wanted to be on record. What we're saying is going to happen to many millennial women, black and otherwise, with this type of talk. I'm just saying. Oh, Detroit said she criticized AMU. No, she did. I'm gonna go listen to some stuff and I'll probably come back with a review. Right? Like I said, when you consume so much content, there's so much content you don't consume. Right? When you review certain things, you can't catch everything. It's I'm telling you, like I watch things for my own entertainment still, obviously, a lot of educational stuff. Like I said, I'm still big on my documentaries. I'm still big on the C CM MSNBC kind of mini docs. I'm still big on all of this stuff, right? I'm still watching um then and now kind of documentaries. I'm still watching Second Thought. That's kind of socialist, Marxist, leftist stuff. I'm still watching all of my stuff, but you know, also keeping up with what's going on in the black community, the black manosphere, news, current events, the two Asian dudes that's over here shooting California up, all of that stuff, right? So it's just a lot. It's just a lot. You're right. And you know, so and shout out to Thermocat. Thermocat said, "Let's go. We ain't afraid of these white supremacist black women." And I don't know. Yes, they are backed by white supremacy, but I don't know how much. I think what's really going on is that they're saying and they're articulate enough or they're animated enough to that many of our everyday black women are living vicariously through them, or love that they're saying the type of things they're saying. Plus, it's almost drama TV for the internet. So there's those of us that get off on those emotional highs and lows. And so it's like you just keep on hitting us with that same red button: anger, 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 rage, 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 rage. Right? And so, like, the men ain't ish discourse is like a red button that other people just get to keep on, for us men, you keep on playing with that, that red button, right? So we know. So those people just keep on playing with the red button. They pressing it, pressing it, pressing it. In this case, it's black women keep on playing with that red button, and other black women getting off on that emotional high, the rage, 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 anger, 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 black men ain't ish button, right? And thank you very much, Trail. The algorithm also just continuously, it keeps you in your bubble. That's why I tell y'all to try to listen to non-manosphere content. Also, listen to stuff that don't got nothing to do with self-improvement, Bitcoin, entrepreneur. Leave all, like, go to a whole different side of YouTube. If it's gonna be the funny cat videos, if it's gonna be comedy, if it's gonna be documentaries, if it's gonna be any of that, how to tie a tie, a Windsor knot, just leave this side of black man, black woman talk, like, just leave that alone and go listen to something else, watch other things, so that you could get out of this, so you don't, because Mr. Z doesn't hate black women, so you don't hate black women, so you don't have, everything doesn't come down to you. Well, them sisters ain't ish, right? Right? Something outside of this. Go watch video game reviews, tech phone reviews, right? Shout out to Flossie Carter. Yeah, Mr. Z. I'm telling y'all, I'm all over the internet. Um, go watch something outside of that. Go, Black Car Guru, right? Like something outside of this, right? And y'all, I'm about to have to head out because it's about that time to walk the lady out the door. Um, so yeah, so I'll pause right there. I guess I'll maybe listen to Real Talk with Yanni's review and maybe come back with some talk about that a little bit later. Like I said, like, watch other things. Y'all know, for me, it's everything. Particularly, I stay on my car videos, my car reviews. I watch a bunch of different things, like, just to, because you get stuck in this space and it will make you hate other black people. And you get caught in this web, and yeah, you know. So, and I guess I'll end with that. Deadly Shell's comment. And Deadly Shell says, why are so many white/Latina women open to dating black men despite our position in society as being at the bottom? I used to live in Cali and saw black male Latina all the time. A lot. Proximity has a lot to do with it. And that also allows them to see how much of the stereotype is BS. Black men's position in urban culture has a lot to do with it. Um, the fact that they see you as cool and edgy and different has a lot to do with it. The fact that their parents tell them not to date you has a lot to do with it, right? So that, there's a lot to do with that, you know? And the fact that they care to know. I'll end out with this. Remember what Dr. T told us. How many non-black women are taking his classes, particularly Latina women, taking black male studies? Because black women assume they know you, even though they don't. They got nothing but negative stereotypes about you to spew out when somebody ask them about black men. But these other women know they don't know you, and they want to know you. That's another reason. And when they get to know you, they realize you're not a monster like dominant society has been telling them their entire lives. Right? So I'll truly pause right there. I'm gonna go try to run before she leaves. Um, you know, and yeah, like I said, y'all go check out other non-manosphere content. Go check out Black Manosphere content, but also go check out non-manosphere content and enjoy your life, right? So you don't sound like Mindy Kaling, and you don't sound like Ostefko, and you don't sound like Kim from For Harriet, and you don't sound like Real Talk with Yanni, right? And much of that is money talking. I don't know about Ostefko as much, but definitely Real Talk with Yanni, Paris, and Chrissy. Oh yeah, the algorithm got them. They're gonna keep on making their money, right? I won't even put Kim from For Harriet. Yes, kind of, but Real Talk with Yanni, Chrissy, and Paris Milan. Oh no, they said screw that. We don't care if all the other black women fall off the edge of the cliff. We gotta make this money, right? So I'll truly pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all go enjoy the rest of y'all day. Go check out other Black Manosphere content and other non-Manosphere content. All right, y'all. Mr. Z out.